In this video, I'm gonna share some of the most common sales interview questions you're gonna get during your sales interview. And I'm gonna be pulling from my personal experience working in sales in Silicon Valley. So you wanna make sure you watch this video until the end, because if you got a sales interview coming up and you want to nail it and you want to be ready for all the trick questions and things like that they're gonna ask, make sure to watch this video all the way through so that you can crush your sales interview. What's going on, everyone? Patrick Deng here. So before we get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And if you're looking to start and accelerate your sales career, make sure to check out my masterclass, Sales Legacy, at saleslegacy.com, or click the link in the description to learn more. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first question that most interviewers, sales managers are gonna ask their potential candidate is, tell me about yourself, right? And not even just in sales, but in interviews in general, people always like to start with that. Tell me about yourself. And the reason for why this interview question can feel a little tricky is because it's a very vague question and you're not really sure where you should start. Should you talk about yourself, why you want the job, your past experience? Where do you actually begin? So a trick that I personally like to do, especially when I was doing a lot of interviews back in the day, is I would actually just, when someone asked me, hey Patrick, tell me about yourself, I would say, okay, sure, I can be able to tell you anything you want. I'm just curious to know, where do you want me to start? And so what I do is I kind of reflect the question back to them, because I'm trying to get a sense of what exactly they want to hear. Because if I just talk about myself and I'm not sure what this employer is looking for, well, what I say may not be as impactful, or maybe they don't care. So that's why I always like to say, sure, I can tell you anything you want to know, but is there anything in particular you would want me to talk about to make it as relevant for you, so that we can see if it's a good fit for both sides? And usually they're gonna say something like, well, just tell us anything you want. Usually that's what they would do, or just tell us about your past experience, right? They'll give you a more clearer answer. And if they say something like, hey, just tell us anything you want, what I usually like to do is I like to tell them what I believe, right? Because when you are interviewing for a job, you want to stand out from the rest of the other candidates. So if you just say something like, oh yeah, I used to work here and I want to do sales and da 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 da, you're literally just like everybody else who walked in the door. If you tell the recruiter or whoever's interviewing you what you believe and what your values are and why you may be a good culture fit for the company, then that's a totally different game. For me, what I did when I was applying for jobs and stuff when I first started my sales career, I would start by saying this: my mission in life is to inspire others. And the reason is because, and I kind of go into why, and the reason why I joined sales is because, and I go into why I joined sales. And so when I kind of do it in that way, I don't want to bore you with the whole pitch, but I tell them what I believe. I tell them that my values is to inspire and help other people. And a lot of people resonate with that, right? So if you have a personal core value that you feel would be applicable or would apply to the job you're applying to, then go ahead and share what you believe, because people love that. People love that personality, and that's what makes you different. Now, if you don't want to kind of share your beliefs and philosophies about life, and you're not trying to go that deep, instead what you could do is this. You want to just quickly talk about your past experience, and then you shift the conversation and talk more about why you want this job and why and what value you can bring, right? So for example, let's say I'm in an interview, somebody says, hey Patrick, tell me about yourself. I'm gonna say something like, okay, great, well, as you can see on my resume, I'm a business development person at Oracle and everything's going great so far. But over the past few months, I've been really getting into blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies. And it's something that I'm developing a passion for. And so the reason why, I applied for this job and we're talking now is because, doing business development at Oracle is great and all, but then I really want to take my skills and apply it to something I'm very passionate about. And I really, when I looked at your company and checked out your website, I really believe in what you guys do. And, I want to be a part of it. Right? And so, you can kind of shift the conversation away from just being like a question answer, like, I'm Patrick Deng, this is my experience, I'm qualified for the job, and shift it away from that and say like, look, I got the experience, I know I'm good, but I really believe in what you want to do and I want to be a part of it, and it's exciting, right? And so just from doing that, the employer, maybe the founder or whoever is looking at you, they're a lot more like, wow, this guy is really interesting, right? This guy seems like the type of person that will figure things out even if he doesn't have all the experience. And that's how I would personally separate myself from all the other candidates. Now, it's not like the basic thing that you'll probably see in other videos, but if you do what everyone else is doing, then obviously you're not gonna stand out, right? And so that's just my personal tip on how I would answer the question, tell me about yourself. The next question that a lot of interviewers will ask you is they will say, okay, how would you sell my product, right? So basically they're gonna give you a situation where they're like, okay, try and pretend to be like a salesperson like you work at our company and sell us our product, whether it's a software, consulting service, whatever it is, right? We wanna see what you got. The first first thing is that you never want to go into any type of pitching situation or selling mode without first understanding their product, right? So if you're in that interview, you have to make sure that you went on their company's website, you understand their products, you understand like what pains they're solving and what value they bring, because that's going to directly influence your ability to sell. It's not about being the smoothest talker, it's just understanding what they do and how they bring value and communicating that, right? And so from there, it's all about, what's the pain their customers have? What is the desired situation their customer wants to be in? And how does their product and service help that customer go from point A to point B, and just communicate that, right? And so let's go ahead and give you an example. So let's say, I was trying to apply for a sales and business development role at Lever. And Lever is a recruiting software that allows companies to easily put up job postings and people can apply and they can manage all their people that apply, kind of like a CRM in a way. And so it's good technology. I mean, I've used it before. And so let's say I was trying to sell this, right? So if I knew that their customers were like small, medium businesses who are using Excel sheets or, broken software that has to integrate with all these different things, and it doesn't work that well, and I'm trying to sell Lever to them, I would say, hey, look, I understand like a business like yours, you have a ton of people, applying to your company, obviously because you're a great company. But I can kind of see that the problem is that, when you're trying to manage all your candidates, right now I can see that you're managing everything on an Excel sheet. Although that does work, but you're obviously spending a lot of time, your recruiters are spending a lot of time just moving papers around, copying and pasting things, and the whole system is kind of broken. And so how Lever can help is it can kind of just automate the entire process. So instead of someone having to spend hours every single day, moving these Excel sheet data points around, why not just have the software do everything in one complete system that everybody can see, completely transparent? And obviously the time you save will be well worth the price that you pay for the software, right? So I kind of would pitch it like that. Obviously the situation might be different depending on what they're asking for, but essentially the whole goal is like, what's a pain that someone might have and how do you solve that pain? And that's pretty much it, right? So that's how I would sell, any type of product and service, whether it's in, a one-on-one setting or if it's a presentation. The philosophy and foundations of how I would do it are exactly the same. What's the pain? What's the desired situation? How does their product and service get from point A to point B? And that's all you need to do. Now, the next interview question that you might get is that, what's your 30-day sales plan, or what's your 90-day sales plan if we decide to hire you, right? Depending on the company, I think most people will ask for 30 days, but sometimes some people are a little more complex and they want to see how you think long-term. So they might say something like, okay, what's your 90-day plan? So here's how I would answer the question, right? If you are, let's say, doing sales and business development, meaning it's your job to reach out to people, generate a meeting, get on the phone, close a deal, right? What I would do is I would essentially say, okay, look, when I get on the company, the first thing I'm gonna do for the first few days is learn everything I can about the product. Who are your customers? What pains do they have? How do we solve those pains? Who are our top customers? Who spends the most money? And really develop a outbound campaign of the people that I want to target based on the current customers that we have, so that I have more likely of success, right? That's the first step they want to see. How proactive are you to learn about the product and the customers and find more customers that are similar to the good ones that you already have. And then within those 30 days, you would say, okay, once I develop the plan, my goal is to generate a list of, let's say, 500 companies that we want to work with and find all the decision makers at these companies and do a campaign. I'm going to do a multi-touch campaign where we're going to do email, we're going to do LinkedIn, we're going to do cold calling, right? Depending on the company, what they do. And we're going to create a cadence where I can consistently reach out to these people on a consistent basis, and we can see whether or not these strategies are working. And if they're not working, obviously we got a team, we can talk to each other to see what's going on, what works and what doesn't, and now refine the process over the first 30 days. So that's essentially how I would answer the first 30 days. And then if it goes to 60, 90 days, all you're really doing is you're saying like, look, once I have that down, it's all about refining and retuning, finding more companies, tuning the message, increasing the conversion rates, knowing the best time to send an email, when the best call, when the best time to call is, and all these things to optimize the process so that within 90 days, we should have a well-oiled machine and I should be able to fit into your system, generating leads and closing deals like crazy. What do you think about that? And so, if you have a plan like that, that's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, people really respect that because it shows that you're proactive and you're not just waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You're actually going out and making an effort to generate leads and close deals. And that's what people want to see when they hire salespeople. Another common question that people might have is, why did you leave your last job? Or why are you leaving your current job if you already have one, right? And so there's many different ways to answer this question depending on what your situation actually is, right? But the main thing you want to pay attention to, no matter how you answer it, is you never want to talk down on your previous job, because that just doesn't show the right salesmanship and like right personality. It's too negative, right? You wanna look at your transition as something positive for everybody. So if you didn't like your past job and you're leaving your past job or you quit, you could say like, hey, I did pretty well there, I did this and that, but I felt like, my ceiling was capped and I wasn't able to reach my full potential and grow. And so that's why I want to look for different opportunities where I could better utilize my skill sets with a company that I really believe in, which led me to interviewing with you, right? And so again, don't talk bad about your previous employers, try to say good things if they are good, but then kind of show like where the cap is or the reason for why you left. You don't have to lie about it. You don't have to like make things up or anything like that. It's the truth, right? If you felt like it was a dead end job and you want to move up in your career, then that's what it is, right? Remember to keep that in mind. So whether you are currently have a job and you want to transition, or if you don't have a job, that's what I would do. An important step is also when you do transition jobs and they're asking you this question, you wanna show them, number one, that you are looking to learn. You're looking to find a place where you can learn a lot, gain a lot of experience, and provide a lot of value, right? People wanna see that. You also wanna say things like you wanna invest in your long-term growth, because you don't wanna stay the same forever. You wanna evolve and grow as a person and grow in your career. And so by saying these things, people see you more as a long-term candidate versus someone who's just trying to find another sales job, right? And so that's how I would handle that question. And the next question we have is towards the end of the interview, the interviewer is gonna ask you something like, are there any questions that you would like to ask us? Right? So, in an interview, the interviewer is obviously asking a lot of questions to the potential candidate. And then the candidate, has opportunity to ask questions back, usually at the end of the interview, okay? And in a way, this is a test to see like how curious you are about the job, and also a way to flex your sales skills. So what I would do, and what I did actually, is I would ask that person, the interviewer, why exactly they decided to work at this company, right? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say like, they're gonna tell me why they joined, and they're also gonna tell me like what the experience is like, right? So I would say something like, based on your experience so far, what is the culture like at this company? Do you guys help each other a lot, or is it more of a cutthroat environment? Because I'm really trying to see if it's good fit culturally for both sides. And usually they're gonna say like, oh yeah, everyone helps each other. I love how, they do this and that, and it's a great experience, right? And basically you're trying to match what they say with who you are, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're interviewing, it's not just about your sales skills, it's can they see themselves working with you, right? So if they see that you are a good culture fit and your values align with theirs, then they're gonna be highly likely to hire you, right? And the last question I would ask is there any reason for why I wouldn't be able to be hired for this job? Right? This is quite a question that most people don't ask because they're afraid of that no. But essentially why you wanna ask that question is because you want to know whether or not you're gonna get the job by the end of that interview, right? You want to know if you're moving to the next step or not. You don't want a maybe, you want a yes or a no. Because if they say yes, great, you're moving on to the next step, no problem. If they say no, you have an opportunity to handle those objections. And you might say like, okay, I totally respect your decision on that, but just curious, what exactly is preventing me from being hired here? Because I felt like it was a really good fit for us to work together, but from your perspective, that doesn't seem to be the case. And they're gonna say, yeah, we really like you, it is good culture fit, but maybe it's something like, you don't have enough sales experience, but there are 3 other candidates that are also really good, right? There's so many different objections you might be getting. The point is you need to know what that objection is, so on the fly, you can handle it on the spot, okay? So that's why you need to ask the question, is there any reason for why I wouldn't be hired for this job? And if they don't wanna give you an answer, then you would say like, okay, well, what's the next step to move forward with this? And they would tell you like, oh, we're gonna talk to our team, we're gonna reach back out to you, and then whatever it is, right? And if they don't want to give you a straight answer, right, you could say like, okay, so are you ready to extend an offer within today, right? And then they would say, no, we're not ready to. And I say, okay, why not? It seems like everything's right, but I'm not really sure what you're saying, or what I mean? So essentially, you need them to give you a straight answer, and you're essentially going for the close, right? You have to close the deal in that you have to close the job interview so that you can actually get it. And this kind of shows your selling ability, because you're not afraid to ask for the close. People respect it, and it's not too rude if you do it in the right way. And for the most part, every time I did that, people liked it, right? Because a lot of times I get objections and I handle those objections, or they appreciate the fact that I go for the close and I'm more likely to be hired, right? And so definitely you wanna do that. Don't just be like, oh yeah, great interviewing with you, please reach back out to me when you're ready, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's too soft. You wanna stand out from the rest of the other candidates. So definitely ask that question. And so with that said, those are gonna be my best tips for some of the most common questions you will get in your sales interview. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, because it's absolutely free to subscribe. And I know a lot of you guys haven't subscribed quite yet, and turn on the notification bell. And also, if you want to take your sales game to the next level and start and accelerate your sales career, make sure to check out my masterclass, saleslegacy.com, where you're gonna learn everything you need to know when it comes to starting your sales career, getting a high-paying sales job, accelerating in your sales career. So if you're interested in that, I got a free 1-hour training at saleslegacy.com. Link is also in the description, where you can, take the 1-hour training, see if it's a good fit for you, and then from there, you kind of understand if you want to move forward. So with that said, my name is Patrick Deng, and I will see you in the next one.